Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, the Muffin Man here, and I just had a couple of things I want to talk about today. I've actually done this video a couple of times, at least before I uploaded it. I did it a couple of times, and every time it just ends up being a long rant about how the Killzone's next tournament can be better, and I feel like I just waste so much time going to each and every one. So I'm going to make my points short and sweet. So first of all, the commentators need to be fans of the game. Jereon is obviously a fan of the game. He's the community manager. But the ESL guy, he didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't know the weapons. He didn't know spawns. He didn't know attachments. He didn't know abilities. He didn't know the metas of pubs. He didn't know the metas of competitive. He didn't know the maps. We need someone who knows what they're talking about, or else it's just gonna feel, it's just gonna be annoying for the players who actually play the game. For the new people, it's gonna be whatever. They won't bother it because if anything, he's asking questions for Jereon to answer to educate them, but he should be the one educating them with Jereon and not himself being educated about the game. Second thing I wanted to talk about is the Spectator mode. The Spectator mode currently is just a third person awkward over the shoulder angle, and currently with that, it's so hard to tell what's going on, and it's hard to tell the intensity of the gun battles. Like, you won't be able to see if his screen red, if he's weak, if he's one shot, if he has full health and the other guy's choking his shots, or if he's choking his shots and the other guy's owning him, or if he made a big play or if it was a small play. That's all part of the views as well, because you won't be able to tell their health level. You won't be able to know how intense the gunfight actually it is without that first person view. You need that first person view to have that intensity. And for the commentators to be able to do their job, they can't do that without that first person view. They can't make that intensity even more intense. It's hard for them to do. And as well as for that intensity, there needs to be a bigger label as far as telling you which player is going, like which player is being spectated currently, because that's needed for people who are spectating to develop favorites. Who's their favorite player, who's their favorite team, who do they want, who's going to be building up hype during who's going to be making the clutch plays, who made that clutch play that one tournament that won, or who made the clutch play that one round to make it go into overtime, to go one more game, like, people want that. They want that intensity. They want that right there for them. They want to be able to tell what's going on at all times. And currently with the setup, it's so hard to tell what's going on. Even for me, and I play this game a lot, it was hard to tell because that angle is just so awkward. And it's hard to tell who's seeing what's playing, what's going on, etc. My third point is for the tournament, they only did one mission per map. Killzone's always been a game where there's multiple missions per map, and now is the intensity. That's what sets it apart from other shooters. Not the turrets, not the spawns, the fact that there's multiple missions in one game mode. There's so much intensity to it. That's the reason why Killzone's addictive. It's because it's always changing. It's always there. Like, for certain other games, they'll be like, their addicting fact is that they have a bunch of unlocks, so that's the changing part for their games. For Killzone, it's the game modes. It's always changing within one game, so you always have to prepare for what's next. It's not about just what's going on, what's right now. It's what's right now and what's coming next. What's about to hit you. What do you need to set up for? What do you need to prepare for? And that's what sets the good teams apart from the great teams. It's because the great teams will always be able to tell what's going on now and what they need to set up for next. And they'll be doing both at the same time. And that's definitely needed for Killzone, because any team can win one round in Killzone. The way the spawns are, you set up your spawns, and if you push the enemy spawns and you clear their spawns once and you have a good setup, you can hold them for the rest of their game from base. You can base rape them just like everyone's complaining about on pubs. So if that, like, you can't have that happen. In 7 minutes, the game's over, with one mission only. And you can't do that with Killzone. It's got to have those multiple missions. It's got to have that intensity of preparing for the next round. The next thing I want to talk about is search and destroy. It shouldn't be longer than 5 minutes, because anything longer than 5 minutes is way too hard to defend. Like, 5 minutes is a good enough time, like, Your team should get a good setup at the beginning of the mission, and of course it'll go back and forth with teams. One team getting a better setup, that team will get a better setup. Go back and forth. But longer than 5 minutes, it's just way too hard, and it's almost a guaranteed win for the attackers, just because they can keep pushing, and they just have that. I don't know. It's just different when you're attacking and defending, and for anything more than 5 minutes, it's just too hard and it's too stale. And on the back to the note where each map should be more than one mission, it should be a best of 5 with the 2 search and destroy rounds, beacon theft, capture and move, and capture and hold. As those are the most balanced missions. There's nothing weird about them. The beacon safeguard. It's just, I don't want to get into it. Capture and connect, it just takes too long to connect, and it's just it'll end up being like probably a draw every. It's just not, because you don't actually have to win the round to win capture and connect. You can just hold that middle base, and you win. You just wait till the end and then cap that middle base and win. I don't want to get into it, but those are the most competitive missions, and those should be the 5 missions. It should be a best of 5 on each map and a best of 3 series until the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. Those should be, or you can skip the quarterfinals if you want to, but the semifinals and the finals should be a best of 5 and a best of 5 series on different maps. And the loser will choose the next map each game. This will keep the series more intense, as the losing team will always pick their better maps, making the games more intense and just closer all together, and it'll give the commentators more to talk about and the fans more to cheer about. Also, there are a couple of maps in the game that are not competitive. Those would be the wall and the forest. Both those maps, for the wall, it's really hard to see, and random, like when you get into gunfights, sometimes there's blinding lights in your face, and it's just really hard to win fights that way. Both the maps are really hard to do callouts because there's nothing that differentiates both sides of the map or any parts of the map really. So both of those should be cut from the list. And for my last point, I just want to talk about, actually I have 2 more points. One of them being the respawn time should be 7 seconds, because that's a good flow for the game. It's a good spawn timer to keep the game intense, and that's what we've been playing with for the past 6-8 months for scrims. And the last point I want to talk about is the biggest point that Swerve and a couple other people know me for on the forums, and that's for hating turrets. And before I get started for the hating turrets and how they're a big part of Killzone or whatever, everyone says that's Killzone, it's not Killzone without turrets. Well, Killzone, the original Killzone, didn't have any turrets. And B, my first ever scrim on Shadowfall, they said, oh, well, we don't play with this stuff for the competitive side. And I was like, but it's not Killzone without all this and that. And I played it with it, and I was like, oh, okay, And then they're like, all right, well, we want to play without this stuff. And I obviously lost the first game, because the team I had been playing with they barely even played, let alone played as much as the people I played against. And the second time I played was in a mixed scrim with Reaper, Big Boss, Pikachu, Elusive, Titan's Bane, all those people who played when the game first came out. And that was without bots. Speed Boost was still on then, but there was no bots, there was no revives, no shield, no new tubes, nothing. And that is when I realized, wow, there's so much stuff in Killzone that is so broken, and the game is so much better without it and so much more competitive, because bots literally take no skill, and there's certain effects that you can do with them. You can put them to defend the objective, and then you can sit there and just defend the bot. So when a player comes around a corner, if they have to attack, it makes it that much harder to attack, because they sit there, they have to worry about you, let alone the bot that has auto aim. It aims faster than any player, it shoots faster than any player, it does more damage than any player, it takes more bullets than any player, it has more visibility than any player, as far as sometimes they see you before you even come around the corner, let alone they see you through leaves clearly and perfectly fine. They see cloaked players. That's another thing about bots. It removes cloaked from the gameplay. There's no point of using cloak, as it would be to ninja diffuse or ninja arm, but there'll always be turrets up to at the objective, so and you'll get spotted by the turret and you'll die by it. You can't use assault because it doesn't have a ranged missile such as a stun missile or the rocket launcher to take out the turrets. So unless you're in a close quarter room, you can't. That's the only way you'll be able to stun blast it. So that takes out two of the major competitive things of the game currently for the meta of the competitive scene, which is assault and the scout cloak. Both of those have been used a lot recently. The assault has always been used. The scout's been kind of newer to the competitive scene as far as being used more. I guess it's kind of from when I slapped RODM in that scrim, but I won't talk about that right now. But just with turrets enabled, it will become a support only game. You'll see competitive players spawning with. You'll see 3 players spawning with spawns. You'll see 2 players spawning with turrets, or 2 players spawning with spawns, 3 players spawning with turrets. They'll go to certain areas, they'll put up their spawns or put up their turrets. If they had turrets, they'll die, they'll put up their spawns. If they had when they have their spawns out, they'll die again, they'll go put out their air bots, and it'll just become turrets, turrets, spawns, turrets, spawns, turrets, spawns, and all you'll see is support. You'll never see any other class used as far as, because there's no point to. Why would you use assault when you could have another killing machine out for free that has aimbot, it has more health than you, and can see cloaked players, and just generally is better than it has better aim than you already. It has more health. There's just no reason to use any other class besides support if turrets are allowed. No matter what you do for them, support will be the only class that's used in competitive play. The only class. There will be no other classes used unless for some random reason they decide to use another class. The support will be the class that's used 90% of the time. You might see for 10% of the game the other classes used. Maybe, like, I would probably say 5% scout, as maybe someone needs a random teleport to get out of the base because they don't have any spawns and they're trying to make a clutch return on a beacon theft, or a clutch arm, or a clutch stop from a defuse or something. That's the only thing I could really see, because assault, it won't be used unless it's like penthouse or cruiser and there's turrets in an enclosed area and they're going to spawn next to it and then use that stun blast to stun the turrets out right away. That's the only way it'll be used. Other than that, it's going to become a support only game, spamming turrets, and it'll just come down to who's better at defending their turret, because everyone will just sit there, they'll put out their turret, they'll hide near it, they'll get the objective. Once they get the objective, they'll either already have their turret out or they'll put it out, and then they'll just defend their turret while their turret defends the objective. They won't even have to worry about it because they know it can't be ninja diffuse. They know that the turret has more health than them. They know that the turret has faster aim than them. They know the turret has more accurate aim than them, and they know the turret does more damage than them. So, yeah. There's no balance to turrets in this game, and they should not be allowed in competitive play. End of rant for my how to improve the next tournament, mostly why turrets shouldn't be competitive, I guess, for the last couple of minutes. But those are my suggestions on how to make the next tournament better. And a couple of people agree with me, a couple of people disagree with me. Leave whatever comments you want in the comments below. Give your opinions. I'm sure Guerrilla Games will read them. They want to know what everyone thinks, not just my thoughts, not just a few players' thoughts. They want to know what everyone thinks so they can make an unbiased decision on how to make their next tournament better. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. How many more do I need? Oh, I need 10 more for an 80 bomb and TDM. Oh my god. Oh my god, I got the sound glitch. The hell I am. No. Oh, updates fixed it. That's good. Teleport's real. I gotta switch to in-game chat. Gotta do turn down for what? Good game. Yeah.